Hello, this is Mark Denham, radio presenter, audio producer, podcaster, and voiceover. Today on the audio journey, we're looking at unwanted noises, basically breaths, mouth clicks, and things like that. Now, I've recorded a bit of audio here, which you can have a listen to. This is what we'll work on. Hello, this is Mark Denham. Here I am, just recording a simple example, couple of sentences, just to show you what to do with breaths. Now, normally they won't be a problem, but sometimes some people have a horrible habit of slash breathing, which makes it a little bit more difficult. And then the other thing, which is also a problem, is when people make those mouth clicks, which are all good in ASMR videos, but not in anything else. Okay, so there's a bit of audio. It's not bad. It's got some breathing in. It's got some mouth clicks in. We can fix it. Now, we could fix it in the waveform, and I'll show you quickly how to do that. But I'm assuming that you would edit your podcast in a multi-track session because you're likely to have a podcast intro, outro, mid-roll. Perhaps even there's not just you. Maybe there's a guest as well. And then you'd get into maybe compression to make sure the two speakers are at the same level. Maybe one's recorded louder, one's quieter. You may want to look into compression. And if you do, then that's going to suck up any imperfections like breaths. And it's funny to call breathing imperfection, isn't it? Because if you don't do it, you don't survive. But in terms of audio, you don't want to be able to hear breathing in between sentences, and certainly the slash breaths as well, where you're talking quickly and you just taking a quick breath of air, and that's not pleasant either. It's not a pleasant listen. A lot of people consume podcasts maybe on the train or whatever, or perhaps when they're at home, or maybe while they're out for a walk in headphones, and to hear an over-amplified breath is not really a pleasant experience. Now, in terms of this, it's not too bad at first until we get to the slash breath, but here's the first one. A couple of sentences. Just to show, you have two options if you're doing it in the waveform view. You can either just go in and up here you have a volume handle, knock it all the way down, totally gone. Sentences. Just to prove, by the way, I've undone that now. Just if I go in here and select just this bit, favorites, normalize, there is the breath. You can see it now. Just there we are. That's an unpleasant breath now. That's not too bad. Again, you've got two options. You can either go in, as I say, and just delete it like that by getting rid of the audio by turning it down. You can then eradicate any sound or delete it altogether. That would be certainly what you would be doing if you were producing, let's say, radio imaging, even if I could say it. The biggest songs on the biggest radio station. This is Radio FM. You want that solid. You don't want the biggest songs on the biggest radio station. You don't want that. So if you were doing radio imaging, you just delete the gap altogether. In podcasting, you want more of a natural rhythm, a flow to the podcast, because radio imaging lasts maybe, 10 seconds. The biggest songs on the biggest radio station. This is Radio FM. Less than 10 seconds, and then you're back into another tune. Whereas with a podcast, it could be a 10, 15, 20, maybe even an hour's listen. So you don't want non-stop talking without any gaps at all. You need to have the rhythm in a podcast. Again, now if we go further along here, of slash breathing, which let me find the slash breath. There it is. Sometimes some people have a horrible. Again, you could just go in here and you could select that slash breath up at the top. Boom, it's gone. But sometimes some people missed just a tiny little bit there, so we'll get rid of that as well. It's gone. But sometimes some people have a horrible habit of. And there's another one. You could do the same with that again. Alternatively, you could just do what we did the first time and you could go in, bang, it's gone, deleted, which may or may not work in terms of the flow of the sentence. And the same with these little annoying mouth clicks here at the end. Breathing, which makes it a little bit more difficult. And then the other thing, which is also a problem. Here we are. Now, if we were to go favorites and normalize that up, a problem is there, those mouth clicks can be eradicated for some people by maybe avoiding dairy before you record. Another top tip, perhaps sometimes people will swear by eating an apple before you record to try and minimize the mouth clicks. But as I say, I'm assuming here that you're going to be editing this in a multi-track session, which is what we'll have now. We'll just call it breath example. I'm not even going to use the podcast template. I'm going to go back up to none. And I'm just going to go in here with this template. Now, you may have yours set up for an intro, perhaps a host, a guest, backing music, sound effects. You may have all these set up. And if you've got certainly a host and a guest, then as I say, you may introduce some form of compression. We're just going to put this on track 1. Hello, this is Mark Denham. Here I am, just recording a simple example. And there we are. We'll leave it as that for now. Now let's just go in and add, shall we, a little bit of compression. I'm just going to use the single band compressor here. Set that back to default. We'll go with a threshold of -20 and just a very, very light ratio, 1.5 to 1. And just to get rid of any annoying peaks, we'll bring that right down. And let's have a listen. Sentences. Just to show you, we could perhaps add a little bit of makeup gain in there as well. Don't forget, when you've mixed down your podcast, it doesn't matter what the final volume is, as long as it's not clipping, you're okay. And if you're working in 32-bit, you can normalize it back down, even if it does, because before you then actually finish your podcast and upload it, you will be matching the loudness to the accepted standard of -16 LUFS. Let's have a listen now. What to do with breaths. Now, normally they won't be a problem, but sometimes some people have a horrible habit of slash breathing. Now, those are the overemphasized ones. Let's have a listen to the mouth click. The problem is when people make those mouth clicks. Can't really hear them. They're not that bad in there, and I'm lucky. Thankfully, it's not something I really suffer with badly. So, like, I've tried to do them there, and they're not the loudest in the world. Some people are louder. Now, how would you get rid of, let's say, normal breaths? Well, the first thing I would do is I would open this up in the waveform, just to show you what to do with breaths. Now, normally they won't be a problem, but sometimes Okay, let me find a breath. Hello, this is Mark Denham. There we are. There's a breath, and that's the bit, remember, that we normalized up. There it is. We'll put it back, and we'll go into the amplitude statistics window, which you can get from window and amplitude statistics. Scan that selection, -60. That's a breath in this audio, reaches no more than -60. Okay, so what we could do now is we could go back into the multi-track view, and we could put on, we'll move the compressor down because we want to fix the audio before we process it. We'll go in and we'll go for the amplitude and compression dynamics, and we know that -60 is going to trap out that breath now. Okay, so that breath, sentences, just to show you, there you are, it's gone. A couple of sentences, just to show you what to do with breaths. Now that will make no difference though when we get to the slash breath. Sometimes, which is much, much, much louder. The slash breath is ridiculously loud. Let's find it. There it is. And if we go in again to the amplitude statistics and we scan that, -10.78. There's no way you can gate that out. It's just too loud. Go back to the multi-track session, and if we change that gate we put in, -10, then you'll find that you're also now going to be affecting the audio. The breath is gone. The breath is gone, but also, just to show you what breath won't be a problem. We've also got rid of the audio that we wanted as well. So I'm going to take off the auto gate altogether, and we're back to where we started now. Hello, this is Mark Denham. Here I am, just recording a simple example, couple of sentences, just to show you what to do with breaths. Now, normally they won't be a problem, but sometimes. Okay, so what option have I got? I could Control and K, delete that, and just move it back together. And then I just want to slightly overlap it just in case there's any noise, and I don't want to quick. I just want it to be a seamless join. Let's have a listen. It won't be a problem, but sometimes some people have a horrible habit of. Now, that to me does sound just a little unnatural, because sometimes some people have a horrible. It just doesn't quite flow. So if I put it all back together now, I'm just going to cut that breath out, and I'm going to leave it there. Leave the gap this time by just deleting. And I can just put little fade envelopes on here. Now you'll see the rhythm continues without that horrible slash breath. But sometimes some people have a horrible habit. And there's another one. Again, you have the option, Control and K. Now, if you shift and delete, it closes the gap automatically, and then you can just butt it up just a little to get that nice crossfade in there, just for tidiness. Of slash. Some people have a horrible habit of slash breathing. Again, there's that slight unnaturalness in the rhythm. So we'll undo it. This time we'll just delete it, and we'll go in, and we'll just put in little fades there, little fade there, and it's gone. Habit of slash breathing, which makes it a little bit more difficult. And then the other thing, which is also a problem, is now that mouth click. Okay, there's a big gap there because I've taken a big gap in order to deliberately, in this case, mouth click. So again, you can barely see it in the waveform. So what we can do is we can just cut that out, cut it out at the other side, shift and delete, close the gap just so you've got that slight fade, so there's no unwanted glitchiness in the audio. And because it's only a mouth click, it shouldn't really affect the rhythm of the sentence. The problem is when people make those mouth clicks, so there's another couple in there. Let's go back and find them. People, again, a deliberate stop in the audio, so can't really see them in this, but if we were to go back and delete that, shift it, close it up, it's gone. People make those mouth clicks, which are all good in ASMR videos, but not in anything else. So let's now finish that, mix it down to a new file, and you'll see where those slash breaths were now. Perfect silence because we've added a gap where the slash breath was. But sometimes some people have a horrible habit of slash breathing. Gone. Much, much better. In terms of the mouth clicks, I would say get rid of them always. In terms of the breaths, I'm generally of the opinion that for podcasting, leave them in. Because it's supposed to be a natural listen. As I say, if you're spending 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, maybe an hour and a half, maybe longer listening to a podcast, if you're having a conversation, if you and I are stood 2 meters apart, socially distanced, of course, having a conversation, I'll have to breathe. And so will you. It's perfectly natural. For the same reason I would always say, and you can see there is quite a bit of dynamic range here in this podcast, loudest bits, quietest bits. For the same reason I would say, don't over compress a podcast. It's all very well having a bit of compression on it, but certainly you don't want to be over compressing it because it becomes unnatural. And most people consume podcasts in headphones or earpods, whatever. I would also say, leave the breaths, unless they're slash breaths. If they're slash breaths, deal with them the way I've suggested. Cut it out, leave the gap and put a little fade out and a little fade in and back into it. Let it roll in its own rhythm, but without the slash breath. In terms of just normal breaths, leave them because we all breathe. It's normal. And just to show you what I did say here, we'll take this mix down here and we'll match that to a target loudness of -16 LUFS. And there we are. Only short, no intro, no outro on this because it's only an example. But if there was an intro and outro and we had the whole mix down, we've just matched it to the target loudness. We could now save that off as an MP3 file, upload it to our host, and there is our podcast done with the breaths all taken care of. As I say, it's totally up to you. If you're editing your own podcast, if you want to take out the breaths, it's totally up to you. I would say don't close the gaps because then you risk unnatural rhythm of sentences and it becomes an uncomfortable listen. Don't close the gaps. But it's up to you. If you want to leave them in, that's also perfectly acceptable because it's only natural that we breathe. In terms of podcasting, it is. If you are producing radio imaging, and we've discussed this before, cut them. Make it tight, tight, tight. Hopefully today's audio journey video has been of help to you. The entire series you can find on my website, markdenham.com. Starts with choosing your equipment, choosing your recording space, and then we get into some of the more technical bits inside the software itself. If you have any questions, there's a contact tab on the website, or indeed, if you are watching this on YouTube, you can stick a comment down below, and I will get back to you. As always, have fun with this, go away and make some amazing audio.